Let's do a few practice problems. So our first problem says, represent 4/10 as a decimal. Show your work using the decimal grid below. So with 4/10, we need to think about that denominator, and I see that it's 10, so I should be thinking about my tenths, and I'm going to think about 10 being in a rod, so I'm going to use 4 rods. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, it also says that I need to figure out the decimal form, so that's why I'm going to use this chart. I have this here to help you out as we're going to be creating this decimal. This will also be in each of the slides for your independent practice for you to reference as well. So for 4/10, we're going to again connect it to that dime. So 1/10 would be 10 cents. So 4/10, it's going to be 40 cents. So over here is our 1, and we don't have 1 whole yet, so I'm going to place a 0 here. So tenths, we have 4/10. 4 here, and 0 because we have 40 hundredths. Our next problem, we have represent 67 hundredths as a decimal. Show your work using the decimal grid below. So 67 hundredths, I know we're going to be using units, but I also see that 67 is made up with 60 plus 7. And I know I can represent 60 with 6 rods. So let's do that first. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now I need to do my 7 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So I've represented 67 hundredths on my grid. Now I need to write the decimal form. So I have hundredths here, and I know it's going to be 67 hundredths. So if I'm starting my ones here, so I'm going to do a 7, because that's in the ones place. Tenths, 6, just like we did 6 rods. And this isn't greater than 1, so this is going to become a 0. Let's try a few more. This time we're going to find the sum before we write down the decimal form. So we have find the sum of 2/10 plus 12 hundredths. So I need to do that on my grid first. So I always like to start with my tenths because those are rods. I'm going to represent 2/10 with 2 rods. Because in each rod there's 10 units. Next, we're going to do 12 hundredths, and I know we're going to be using the units, so I can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, or I could have said, okay, 12 is the same thing as 10 plus 2, so I could do a rod plus 2 units. Now I need to find the sum of those two fractions. So I can skip count by tens for my rods. So 10, 20, 30, 31, 32 hundredths. So when writing my fraction in decimal form, I need to think of my denominator. So that's hundredths. So my hundredths is in this column here. And I know my ones place I have a 2. Just like my 2 units I put here, which are hundredths. So I'm going to put a 2 here. I can take a look, okay, how many tenths do I have? And I see I have 3, just like the 30 here. And I know that my fraction is not greater than 1, so I'm going to place a 0 here. So I have 32 cents. We have one more problem to go over. This problem, we have 6/10 plus 8 hundredths. So for our 6 tenths, I'm going to represent that in red. I see the denominator is 10, so I know I'm going to be using a rod. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then my 8 hundredths, oops, I'm going to be using units because those are my hundredths. So I'm going to use 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now it's time to write my fraction in decimal. Oh, first I need to find the sum. So I just skip count. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I get a total of 68 hundredths. Now it's time to write the fraction in decimal form. So I'm going to take a look at my hundredths. How many unit cubes do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But I can also take a look at what's in my ones place here. So now 8 is going to go here. My tenths, I can count my rods here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But I can also take a look at what I have up here in my tenths column. So 6. And I know this fraction is not greater than 1. So it's going to be a 0 here to get 68 cents. Now it's your turn to try some problems.